Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Usually I do this in jails. I don't do this in churches anymore. I'm not going to do my bad stuff of where I went from. I want to talk about this stuff. But to give you a lot of new faces this morning, 1990, I got hooked on meth. And in 2000, I got saved right down the road. And defining moments is what Rodney's been talking about. So when Brenda said, anybody got testimony, immediately it popped in my head, I have to tell this. So that's why I'm here this morning. I tell this in jails because it helps people that's struggling about what to do after they get saved. And when in 2000 I was on fire. I mean, I was beating Rodney up every day. What do I need to do? What I need to do? And he finally told me I need to get a hobby. I mean, I was on fire. I wanted to work for the Lord because I'd run for the devil for so many years. And I kept praying, and I kept praying, and I kept, what do you want me to do, God? What do you want me to do? And it probably, July of 2001, been saved a little over a year, and I had a dream come to me about 5:30 in the morning. And the Lord came to me, and my grandfather was in this dream, and he was telling me to go to Mitchellville, Tennessee, which I know most of you probably don't know where that's at. That's 75 miles away from here. My uncle lives there. He was a Seventh-day Adventist preacher. And my grandfather was in this dream, and he told me to go see my uncle, and he would give me 2 Bibles that he preached out of, because my grandfather was a General Baptist preacher. And he said, that will show you that I'm calling you into the ministry. Well, calling you into a ministry is a broad thing, but he was calling me into the ministry. And I'm sitting here, I'm still dreaming, and I wake up immediately. And I still hear his voice, and he's telling me to wake up my son, which my son was 12 years old at the time, and he will go with you. Now, grant you, this is 5:30 in the morning. Well, I wake Lisa up. I don't know if Lisa even remembers this story. I wake her up, and I tell her all this, and I said, I gotta go. So I walked into Kyle's room, and you ever wake up a 12-year-old in the morning and ask him to go somewhere? What will they usually do? Yeah. He jumped up out of bed and said, yeah, I'll go with you. Yeah. So that was the first sign. I'm done what I'm supposed to be done. So I get dressed and we go. On the way to Mitchellville, where my mom lived, was in Franklin. I decided I'm going to take a detour. I'm going to her brother's house, so I want to take my mom with me. So it's about 7 o'clock when I'm knocking on her door. She won't answer the door. And I said, okay, God, I get it. You don't want me to take anybody else with me. So I get back in the car and I go on down. And I go to my uncle's house. And this is probably 7:30, 8 o'clock. He's an older gentleman. And you don't wake older people up that early in the morning either. And I'm beating on his door. He doesn't come to the door either. And, I'm sitting there, is this really happening? Well, he lives beside my grandfather's old house. It's still standing today. He made a library out of the living room because he's a preacher too. He got a library of books. So me and my son go into this house, and I'm looking around. And there's a couch, and there's a coffee table sitting right in front of me. There was a Bible laying on that coffee table. And I opened the first page of that Bible, and it had my name in it.
Amen.
Scared me to death. I ran out of that house as quick as I could. And when I get out of the house, my uncle is sitting on the front porch. So I go over and I start talking to him. I kind of tell him about the dream, but I didn't tell him anything about the Bibles. And we're sitting there talking. My son comes out. He has 2 books with him. And my uncle said, "Let me see them." The first one he got was this one. He said, "That's just an old pocket Bibles that my dad got out of a store." And it was 1948 is what year this was published. He said he carried that around with him. He said, "Here, you can have it." Second book he had was this one. And it's the Pastor's Ideal Funeral Manual. He looked at it and said, "That's what my dad preached funerals and a few weddings out of." He said, "That's the only Bible I have left of your grandfather's. You can have that." So he don't give me the 2 Bibles. I'm sitting there and I'm amazed that my dream has came true. Every bit of it. And then I just asked him, I said, "Where's that Bible that's got my name in it? Where'd that came from?" He says, "When you was in jail in 1994, I came and tried to give you a Bible. And they wouldn't let you have it because it was a hardback Bible. So I came back and I laid it right there." God knew 7 years before that I would find that Bible 7 years later.
Amen.
So I went on my merry way and I came back to Hartford and talked to Rodney and tried preaching a few times. And people knew my past, and it didn't go very good. My preaching wasn't very good, but people browbeated me pretty good, beat me down. But then I found jail ministry, and I started preaching in jails or speaking. And then later on, they wanted me to be spiritual director, be the preacher for the jail ministry. So I found my calling. So I started telling this story about these Bibles. You know, show them that even no matter how far down you've been, that God can still use you. And I told them this story about what I just told you. I got to thinking, I'd like to get that Bible that had my name in it. And so I went back to Mitchellville, Tennessee, and I said, "I want that Bible that I had, that was on that coffee table." He said, "Sure, you could have it." I went back to the house, and it wasn't there. Wasn't there at all. I looked around, couldn't find it. So I was a little deterred about that. And then a couple years more passed. Me and Lisa bought a house in Beaver Dam. And we have moved from the house that I lived in. And I moved to Beaver now. And I opened up the drawer beside my bed on my nightstand. And this Bible was in it. And it has my name in it. That's the Bible that was on that coffee table. Then I started doing this again. Then I looked at the date. February 14th, 1995. Valentine's Day. So I took it that was a Valentine's present from the Lord to me. So I've used this in many sermons that I've taught at church and in the jails. So if you're here today and you've never given your life to the Lord, I encourage you to do that, because Brenda sent me a little thing that she sends everybody every week. It says God uses people that fail because there's no other kind. I fail every day, but He still uses us. So that was the testimony that He put on my heart.
Well,